Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out to check out my presentation. My name is Mark Forrest. I'm going to be speaking to you guys about exploring and camping off of your SeaDoo today. So what I've done is in the last about 6 years now, I've been started out with a cottage up on Georgian Bay, and I had a SeaDoo out there, kind of like the small runabout one that you get out and you'd go out for a ride in front of the cottage. You'd rip around for 30 minutes to an hour, and you'd probably end up seeing the same thing over and over, and you kind of get a little bored with what you're doing. Well, back in 2018, 2019, SeaDoo came out with a new style of SeaDoo that was known as having an ST3 hull. So that hull actually gave a lot more stability, security, and safety when you're out on the water. So in my idea, I thought, well, I'm going to pick up one of these SeaDoos and try to explore a bit more. So from there, with an ST3 hull, as you can see, I'm a larger guy, you can actually stand fully in the gunnel of it and it won't tip over. You're not going to run into any issues with it rolling. You can still roll over in big waves, but it gives you a lot more stability. So with that, this model of SeaDoo gave me the ability to kind of explore more of my area around here in Ontario. So what we're going to talk about today is basically where to go in Ontario to explore with a SeaDoo, what are the best places that you could actually camp with your SeaDoo, spend time out on the water, and just what you need to get out and enjoy your time exploring all the amazing waterways and different places that we have here in Ontario. So in doing that, what I was able to do is I thought to myself, when I first started out, there was absolutely no information that I could find in regards to places to go, things to see, where to launch my boat, where to launch anything, what you can do on the water. So what I started doing is starting to document my travels. Personally, I originally started out doing it so that when I'm really old and sitting in the old age home, I go, oh, look what I did. I went and saw all these amazing places. I did stuff. But from there, speaking with people and getting to speak with everyone on the water, I've really turned it into trying to show people how you can get out there, all the amazing places that you can go to, and with the ability of having a SeaDoo, you can tow it a lot easier than you can tow a boat, and you can get into a lot more places than you can with a boat. So we're going to kind of dive into it. So again, like I said, I have a YouTube channel that kind of goes over different places. I do videos about camping, information in regards to how to go to places. And that kind of led me to coming out here to speak with you guys. So the first thing we're going to talk to is Ontario is huge. There is a lot of places to go and ride, so you do not need to just stay at your cottage or at one place of water that you go to. So with that, there's kind of like key areas that we go to. You've got, obviously, whether you're down here in Toronto, a ton of people are going out around Toronto exploring. You can go into the inner harbor, you can go along and see everything there. A lot of people go down towards the Buffalo area, and explore. You've got Point Pelee down here, which is an amazing place to get out to. So you could say that you've been the furthest south ever in Canada. But a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is going to be dealing more with Northern Ontario for the camping aspect. Basically, what you'll find is anything kind of south of this line pretty much is all public or private property, so there's very little opportunity to do it. You can do through the Trent Severn waterway. There are locks that you can camp at if you're looking to do that kind of camping, but like I said, along Lake Ontario, these southern Great Lakes, very hard to find anything to do with, and there's not a lot of protection in regards to, you usually have to go to a marina. So with that, what you're looking for is there's two basic ones that we look for when we're doing camping. There's Crown Land camping. So Crown Land camping would be, as a Canadian citizen, you have the right to, and you can go and spend time on this land. You do not have to pay anything to go onto it. And you can go in and set up camp, and I think it's about 21 days straight that you can camp without moving, as long as you're a Canadian citizen. And with that, like I said, it does give you, the Ontario government has the Crown Land Usage Policy Atlas, which is where you would go if you're looking for information about where to go. And it gives you a breakdown of, you can kind of see like down, as again, I said here, everything south of here is a gray, which is private. So once you get into it, you can see like that's Algonquin Park, you've got other reservations. And when you zoom in on it, you can actually get quite a bit of detail in regards to what's available. So in this image, what we're looking at here is kind of just around the Perry Sound area. Perry Sound is a great area to go to kind of get if you're just getting into camping off of a SeaDoo and want to get an idea of where to go. It has a lot of opportunity. It both has Crown Land, so this right up here is called Franklin Island, and you can see it has C120 something. Yeah, 120. And down here you'll see a P, which is a provincial camp, and that's the Massasauga provincial camp there. And then you can see there's gray, which is private property, and other ones that deal with conservation land and everything like that. So say if you on this app that they have, you can actually click on an area and it'll give you a breakdown of what you're looking at for the description of it. And when you get into the details, if you really want to know what you can and cannot do there, it will actually give you a breakdown of what's permitted on the site or on that area of Crown Land. What you're really looking for the idea of camping wise in this area is you want to look for Crown Land seasonal recreational camping and if it's available. Basically, if it says yes, you're allowed to stay there. Most likely there's already pre-built campsites. They're not to the point of like a provincial park that has, you know, like washroom, like porta boxes in the woods. Is basically there's probably just a campfire made of rocks. But you're allowed to use that, again, for as much as you want. The other option that you have, and this one I recommend, is if you're just getting started into it and want to, you know, an easy camping trip, not one where you're kind of, you know, more rugged and everything, is using the Ontario Parks app. A lot of what you'll find is they've gotten it now where you can actually go in and reserve campsites. So the one over here, this is actually the Massasauga Provincial Park right here, which if you're coming out of, you can actually come and join. This is all Georgian Bay open water all in here. And you can see the routes they even include to get deeper into the back bays and inlets that they have there. So you can come and find that through Perry Sound. I recommend that's a great place. Perry Sound is a great place to just start and launch out of. The launch there is free, and if you do decide to go overnight camping, you just go onto their website and it's $10 a night to park your vehicle there. So price-wise, it's quite good. But when you're doing the provincial ones, you also have to pay for the campsite. Usually that's around $30. In the southern ones, it's about $30, like Massasauga. Even if it's one person, it's still $30. But if you have a couple buddies with you that come out on your SeaDoos, then it's only $30 for 4 people. So you kind of get a better deal, especially if you're going with a group. And you know, we all hanging out with your friends, going out camping. It's a fun time. So what it is they'll show you the campsites here, and you can actually just go in and actually book the site, the dates that you want. What I'm actually working on this year and I'm going to try and put out for people on the site is an actual list of what's the best sites that are suitable for SeaDoos. I found that not a lot of, you know, you have to really kind of pick around and see what is available. Not everything is great. Some of the sites, you're going to have boat traffic going past you all the time, and it's going to cause wake, and we all know in Ontario there is no sandy beach. Everything up here is rock. So what you're really trying to find is bays that are secluded, that have a campsite on it, that you're not going to get a lot of traffic, and also pay attention to wind direction. But we'll speak about weather and wind in a little bit from now. But again, now this year, it used to be, this is the French River here, and it gives you kind of 2 options that I like to go with. You can either launch down off of the Key River, which is down here, and come out and do all this area along Georgian Bay, if you're looking for a nice easy run. Or you could go out of Pickerel River and come along and do the inner part of the lower French River. This year what they've done with Ontario Parks, it used to be you would just buy a pass for the area. Now they've actually moved to picking it that you actually have to book an actual site. So again, this is what's leading me towards more helping people try to actually know, like, you know, this site out here, not great. Something in around here maybe is a bit better, right? So trying to say, like, here's the list of sites that work well for SeaDoo. So look out for that coming this season and stuff. But I'm going to try and put that together to help everyone kind of see where you go, because some of these ones that you can see, you know, they look great, but like you'd want to be further back in, but you might not have a place that you can actually tie up the SeaDoo to and be secure in where you're getting off on to use the campsite. So those are the 2 kinds. You got Crown Land and Provincial Park. just to help you kind of choose where you kind of want to go. Once you've decided where you want to go, the whole thing is trying to find your ramp to get out of. This was a big aspect for me trying to figure out when I first got started, is finding out what ramps are available, what's private, what's public, where can I go, what has the best feature. Many a time, and I'd never want to tell my boss this, but many a time I have done this during work, searching Google for hours to try and figure out, oh, maybe I can get in there. So this is, again, one of those ones where I was able to actually find, and surprising and blew my mind, but the Ontario government actually did something good and had a website that works really well. It's called Fish Online. Now granted, I cannot fish, I suck, I pretend like I fish in my videos, but it's not good. What I found on this site is it has the list of all the ramps that are registered through the Ontario government. So there's, as you can see, in this slide right here, we're looking at Lake Muskoka, Lake Rosso, Lake Joseph. We also have over on this side, Lake Ontario. And that's a huge question I get from people, is like, oh, well, where do you find a launch from? Where do you get to go out from? And a lot of it was, you know, again, just by luck I found a ramp. But finding this website, I was able to see different locations like Midland and Penetanguishene, where to go there. And what you'll see is with it, when you get close to the area you're looking for, in this case, we're going to use the Gravenhurst ramp as a reference for this point. But so the Gravenhurst ramp that I'm looking at is going to be right here. You can see there's another ramp right here. With this one, if you were to click on it, when I click on this ramp, it gives you all the information about it. So this one's owned by the municipality. Whereas this ramp, if you clicked on it, it's actually a private ramp. So even though it shows on here, you would have private written right there. And in that case, it's for people that are out on this island right here. So you can't use that ramp. So when you're looking at it, again, it's very helpful in regards to doing the research onto what actual ramps you're able to use. The big thing that I like about this app is it also helps with telling you what kind of material type the ramp itself is. Around here, you usually got asphalt, concrete, and you've got sand or gravel. So in this case, you can see it's a concrete pad. So when you're launching, you know that you're going to have a concrete pad going into it. It's a little bit of a smooth ride. With that, though, obviously the one that I really go with is everything. All the lakes freeze here pretty much in the wintertime, and ice and concrete don't mix. So what if it's your first time out in the season or you haven't been to the ramp, highly recommend checking that the concrete hasn't shifted. I had one time where I was like, oh, I've been to this ramp 100 times. Went there the first time in the spring, and there was a 2-foot gap between the two pads, and my wheels got stuck right into the SeaDoo, went shooting right off of it, and it was not a fun morning. So again, if I had taken the time to actually just look and see there was a gap, I would have probably tied the SeaDoo up instead of having to go swimming for it. So one of those things that you do want to make sure you do is always inspect the ramps. To that, what you can do pre-going to your trip is actually doing visual inspections, right? So obviously we've all got seen Google and know how to use Google Maps. With that, I like to use it so that you can do an overhead view to kind of see. If we look at the last slide here, what you'll see is it also says that if it's a paid launch or not. So this obviously one in Gravenhurst is not paid for, and if there's parking or not, which I don't. Where's the parking? Yeah, parking. So it says that there's parking. So when you zoom into it, take a look at it through the Google, you can actually see, you know, here's where the parking lot is. Do a little research. There's a little bit more of an overflow here. And even nowadays, you can actually zoom in and do the ground view. So if you've never been to the ramp, it gives you the ability to kind of see what you're getting to. You know, not so you're riding in blind. You don't know where the staging area is. You want to just make sure you're prepared for getting into the water as quick as possible, so you enjoy the day and everyone else at the ramp gets to enjoy it as well. With that, we all know about the 8 steps for backing up a trailer. The reason why I bring this up here is with a SeaDoo or a smaller boat that you're doing, it becomes a lot more difficult to actually back up a trailer. It's very short, it is hidden between both sides of your car, so if it starts to go left or right on you, it'll go quickly left or right, and you'll be out of alignment and doing one of those ones where people are staring you at the ramp and being like, what are you doing? So the easiest thing is always, check the staging areas, make sure you can line up properly to the ramp. Take your time at the ramps. There's no huge rush. You want to get it done first try. But if something goes wrong, do back out. Make sure you get it all lined up. And, we all know the etiquette, respect everyone else is there. It's time as well. So now what we're going to get into, and this is really a real key measure to what you have to deal with when you're trying to figure out if you're going to go camping, where to go camping, is the wind and the weather. That plays a huge factor into what we're doing. So what you can see here is just a couple examples of how the wind will help judge where you want to go for your trip. So what we'll do is, if you looked up at this image right here, you can see that the wind is blowing from the northeast down to the southwest there. So if I was to start looking at what my idea for a trip would be, I would be looking along this coastline right here, and then you can see the wind drops off even more. So like this area would be my key area to try to explore for the day, right? What you don't want to do is over here, say in Tobermory, where this is blowing the whole way across Georgian Bay. That's just going to have huge waves. It's not an enjoyable trip at all for you there. Same thing when you deal with, coming from the north. In this case, you can see you kind of want to be more on the north end, just so you can plan out your trips. The other thing that you want to look into is like your long range forecast, just to make sure that there's nothing that's going to sneak up on you while you're out on the water. With that, here's a few more examples of using some of the apps that I like, and we'll go into the apps that I use coming up in a bit. But again, you can see that a lot of people, when you go up to Tobermory, the whole point of going to Tobermory is you want to see the cliffs, the escarpment, and the beauty of it is when it's flat calm there, you can touch the cliffs and be right underneath it, right? But in this case, as you can see, with 22-kilometer-hour winds coming on it, because the cliffs are so sheer, you're going to have the waves just hit the cliff and bounce back out, and it becomes completely dangerous for you there. So again, what you're really looking for in this case would be wind coming from the southwest, going up and across and over the escarpment, so that you would have a nice flat, calm day. So you could still have 22, 30-kilometer-hour winds, but because of the way the shoreline's oriented, you're not going to really have that affect you while you're out riding. Same thing with if you're going out like on smaller lakes or interlakes. You can see for this case for Muskoka, the wind is again coming kind of from the east towards the west. So again, when you're planning your day, basically what I'm going to be looking at is spending my day along the eastern side of the shore. That will give you your flattest water, easiest travel. Again, this is what you want to do also when you're looking to spend the night if you are going to camp, is you want to look for the direction in which the wind and waves are coming so that your boat or your SeaDoo isn't actually getting tossed up on the rocks while you're overnight. So if I was looking at this, you'd kind of want to be in these like back bays here tied up if you were in country, because the wind isn't going to be rocking the boat as much, and it's not an open channel where you're going to have a lot of traffic as well going through the area. The other thing that's really important to have is an app or a way to see the radar so you can see what kind of weather's coming through. As we've all probably seen how, you can be out in June and July or August out on the lake and all of a sudden a squall comes up out of nowhere and you're stuck in some heavy downpour for 30 minutes to an hour. So you kind of want to be aware of what cells are going on, the direction that things are moving, and just like I said, to keep an eye on the weather. That's the key thing in you guys to making sure you have a great time out there. What we're going to go into now is how to carry the gear on the actual SeaDoo. So these SeaDoos now have systems that are called link systems where you can attach the gear. I've had and been using the link system now for probably 6 years, and not once in the worst weather, worst waves, have I ever lost a single bit of gear over it. It has stayed attached, no problems at all. So in regards to that, I'm really happy with what the system is. Just at the end of the season, I picked up a new system, a new SeaDoo that actually has an extended deck on it, which you can add another link system. And then I bought a plate that SeaDoo has that you can attach more stuff to it. If you have just a regular SeaDoo that doesn't have the extended plate, they also have aftermarket ability to buy products that will give you the chance to actually add more stuff to the SeaDoo. This link plate can be added to the back of a regular SeaDoo to give you two. You can do 3 slots across, one major, one across. So they've kind of thought about that as well if you just have a regular one. So there's options. The aftermarket ones can be a bit cheaper. This one is obviously a bit more expensive because it's coming from the actual brand itself. With that ST3 hull, you get a way more storage in the front section. Just to give you an idea of how much storage you can actually get in, that's a 20-liter gas can in the front bin. This is a 20-liter gas can plus a few extra stuff on top, just so you can see how much actual volume there is at the front to carry things with you. What I do now is my setup for going out camping, and this is a setup I use for multiple day camping, 3 through 5 days of camping. This allows me to carry food for that long of a time. It allows me to avoid going to marinas where you have to pay absorbent amounts of money for gas. No one wants to pay those high prices. So the way I've got things set up on the new Fish Pro that has that extended deck is I'm able to put the cooler on that back section, carry 40 liters of gas right here, and then I use dry bags that you can get Canadian Tire or any kind of outfitter store, and like I'll have one that carries my tent and all my camping equipment, one that carries clothing, and one that carries my supplies that we'll see in a second, like tools for actually camping and everything. So the ability to carry that, I just clip the bags onto the back railings here of the handle. Again, stays completely secure, no issues at all with it. When you're going out here, tenting. As you can see, if you've ever gone out or tried to go out camping here in Ontario, we don't have flat ground, we don't have soft surfaces, we have nothing but rocks and roots and everything like that. So what I found when I was going out is a company called Amok that does these new kind of hammock style that actually goes with the ridge line goes across and you sleep vertical to it. So you're not sleeping like you're in a taco where your feet are up above your head and you're all cocooned in and everything. This one you're actually able to lie flat. You can actually be on your sides, sleep on your sides. Gives you storage inside for like water, your cell phones and everything like that. What really sold it for me was the ability that's the whole kit. So that's the tent there. That's the sleeping insert that goes right here that you sleep on. And then this one right here is the fly in case you're going to get some rain, and that covers it over. So you can have the fly up. It also comes with a mosquito net that's built into it. So if you don't want the net, it just kind of fits in the pocket right here. If you do, it just zips over really quickly. I've had nothing, probably the best tent I've ever owned. And what really sells it for me is you're off the ground. You're not worrying about, oh, is there a rock underneath me while I'm sleeping? Is there a root that's bothering me? You're off the ground. The other great thing about it is if it rains, you're not gonna get wet. Usually I've seen it at most campsites that we have is the only flat spot is the low spot. So all the rain would go towards there. You wake in the morning, you're swimming in your tent. This way, you don't have to worry about that at all. So an absolutely amazing way. And again, like I said, very small and compact, fits really easy into your bag, doesn't take up any space, and very light. When you kit it out, obviously you go with, I've added a pillow that you can get here and your sleeping bag. And that's your full tenting kit right there that you need. With this is some of the supplies that I take. This is pretty much everything that I fit, and that all fits into one bag that I have for a dry bag. So the real trick is, again, there's no flat surfaces, so you want to take a chair with you. This is one of those collapsible camp chairs. I've been using it for years, and it's absolutely fantastic. And again, that's it completely folded up, so it's no bigger than what the tent was that you have there. So great for size, carry anything over. As we all know and live with, mosquitoes. Usually you don't need them when you're out on the water on the SeaDoo, you're going around, but as soon as you end the night and you're getting off at the campsite, highly recommend making sure that you have a mosquito jacket just to give you that little bit of comfort. What helps with that is also there's different mosquito repellents. I have really gotten into and really support Thermacell has got some amazing product that helps you out there and has made my camping a whole new game changer. The one that I like is you've got this kind of green one right here that you can carry around, clip it onto your belt. That's good if you're walking around. The one that I highly suggest, and I think is the greatest one, is it's this little mounted one here that goes onto your fuel can here, and it can run for hours and puts out a great shield for you. So I kind of set that up right next to the chair, have my dinner. Most of the time I don't even need to wear the jacket. That's how good this system works. Other things that I take with me, obviously, you got your sunscreen, fire starter, axe and saw, a pump just in case you get some water. And usually what I've found is at nighttime, if you do get rain, you'll get water in your footwells, and you don't want to stick your foot in that first in the morning. So this is just an electric pump. Stick it in there for a couple seconds, dries everything out. You're good to go to enjoy the rest of your day. A really big thing that I recommend is if you are going to the backcountry, is you can get, these are waterproof maps of the areas you're going to. So this map is French River, this is out towards Killarney. The reason I recommend getting those is once you get far enough away, you are going to lose cell signal, and you may, if you haven't downloaded or saved an app to your phone, or in some cases where I've had where my phone has died and I wasn't paying attention and I have no idea where the campsites are, having a physical map with you is very important to it. And of course, to wrap it up, we've got your headlamp, and I'm going to talk to you about this in a second, but that's one of those GPS devices that you can communicate with. Also, just down here, you can get these small kits, Bass Pro Shop, Canadian Tire, a couple, a can, a frying pan, fork and knife, and then you get those reheated meals. I've brought food with me, you can catch fish, whatever you want, but if you're looking for weight and storage wise to get as most out of it as you can, these rehydrated meals where you just add hot water to them for 10 minutes work great. And I mean, they're great for when you're on the road. And then I usually take a Gatorade bottle or two, and then I just put them in the bottle and bring it back with me when I'm done. The other thing, and like what it is you make sure you always have like a lighter with, I carry a lighter with me, and then in case of emergency, coffee kit. The other thing we have here is lantern. So what this is it's a lantern that can actually collapse down onto itself, so it gives you a ton of space, solar powered. And what you usually do that for is if you get to a site late or you want to not have to always deal with your headlamp, this puts out a nice glow, kind of lights up the whole camp for you. These are some of my, well, I'm going to check time. These are some of my apps that I use when trying to figure out where I'm going, what I'm doing, and how I'm getting there. A lot of them I use a lot more than others. The key ones that I use are going to be My Radar, BRMP Maps, and Wave Boating. And the other one for weather and wind is Ventuski. These are the key apps that I use when trying to plan out my trips. Radar is what I use for obviously trying to figure out where what the weather's looking like. But if you're looking for Navionics everyone's heard of and has it on their phone. Wonderful app, no problem with it there. I found this one that's a Canadian one, Wave Boating, where they've really taken the time to look into our area and not just all of a generic file. So they've got things down on here that are really helpful. What really helped me with this one is when you're dealing with your charts, you'll see it says 30 feet of depth or 10 feet of depth. With the water levels, as we're sure, they fluctuate up and down here on Georgian Bay and all the other lakes. Up here at the top, you can actually click on it, and there's a guide that, in this case, it's choosing a reading out of Midland that they provide to this company. And it will say, in this case, it's plus 1.2 feet. So if your chart is saying that the water is 10 feet, the water is actually 11.2 feet. Right? If that was a negative, it would be to the point where it's below what the chart data is. So again, if it's 30 feet and it says -3, it's like 27 feet actually. So quite helpful for spring and fall. As we all know, the water fluctuation happens around here. Like I said, they're expanding on it. They have a few stations throughout Ontario. I mean, again, it's not perfect, so I don't always go with it, but I do like that they're starting to add that into our waterways and knowing it. Again, they've got all the charting information that you would need, weather and everything like that. The other one I like to use, and this is more for the camping side, and it goes back to trying to find crown land versus provincial parks and everything like that, is the app called BRMP. And with that, like I said, you can see how they've got it coded to zones. So you can actually see what color and different colors make up crown land, private land, and everything like that. And then with that, they've even gone as far as to including every campsite that they've got registered. So you can, on a digital map, zoom in And this is, to me, this is more accurate, and has been, I've tested it this past summer, where trying to find a campsite that was on that paper map said it was in this area, and when you're trying to find it, I'm like, oh, I can't find this at all. End up, I looked on there and it said it was 3 islands from where the one was on the map, and I found it perfectly. So I've been able to say, if I know to the area that I'm going to, I will take a live image or save the image of the map so I can keep a digital version of it. But again, like I said, I do go with recommending keeping a hard copy as well. Other maps that I use that are, as much as I use them, I'm unsuccessful, or like a fishing and hunting app, which kind of gives you the best time to go fishing. I suck one way or the other, so it doesn't really matter. But the one app that I really want to tell people about is called Ventuski. This app is, if I go, nope, too far. This app is what I have found that most marinas use on their actual systems. It's a very accurate. I would say this app has been the most accurate in regards to wind and weather that I have ever used. Better than Windfinder, better than Windy. I have truly recommend using Ventuski. There is cost to some of these apps, so I think Ventuski is $9 for the year. Highly recommended. It is worth it to have that kind of information. And like I said, I've spoken to many harbor masters, and this is what they use. And that's how I came across it. I was paying for some fuel and saw it on one of their computers. So you can actually get it as an app, or you can actually get it on your desktop as well for your planning. But highly recommend that app right there. The other thing, what is really great with SeaDoo, and a lot of other people are adding them onto, is I have the Garmin EchoMap 62CV on my home. So this is a GPS with mapping and depth finder. So I can see the depth of the water I'm at. I have the contours of the water, and it actually tracks your positions as you're going, so it keeps an active track. So worst case, if you get into an area that was shallow getting into, theoretically, if you follow your track back out, it should be pretty good to get back out. What I like about this one, and right now, all the new SeaDoos that are coming out, if you go look over the booth, they have this, but they have what's known as the 72 CV, which is a touchscreen version of it, right? All the same software, everything is the same on the screen. The only difference is it doesn't have the buttons. My personal opinion, I love the buttons. I don't know you, but if you get your hands wet and you're trying to touch your phone, or you try to touch a screen, all of a sudden, what might be you just want to pinch and zoom a little bit, all of a sudden it becomes you've gone half a mile off track, and you're like, oh, I've lost where I'm going. So having rubber buttons when your fingers are wet, lifesaver. So you can find the 62 CV aftermarket. They're on Amazon. They're all great. Still works perfectly fine. Like I said, the only difference, it's not touchscreen. But if you're buying a new SeaDoo, they got it. If you want SeaDoo, you can get through your dealerships. They can sell you the mount that this goes to, and you can install it yourself. It's a couple screws. It just goes over where one of your mirrors are on that side. Really easy to install. Then you buy your Garmin, clip it in, you're good to go. The only thing would be is if you go and put a transducer in, that is where anytime you're going through the hull, I usually just take it to my dealer, and then that way if they screw it up, it's on them for warranty, right? So that will allow you to get the depth. Safety is a huge point, especially if you're going out camping and going to places that do have cell or do lose cell signal. A lot of Ontario, especially on the water, you're pretty good with having cell signal, but like I said, once you get into the French River and further up north, it does cut out on you. So one of the huge things that I have that I really recommend is Zoleo has a device. You've probably seen Garmin has it as well, and InReach or InTouch. And this system allows you to communicate and track your locations by satellite. So what I have is I have my setup where I can send my information and my location to my wife so she knows where I am, even though there's no signal. And it will tell you those are your coordinates. So if there was ever an issue, she just lets the police or Coast Guard know those coordinates, and that will save my last location. What it will do is when I start a trip, if I'm going on a multi-day trip, you can have it follow you like a breadcrumb, and we'll leave coordinates I usually do it every 2 hours. And like you can see, it says I started here, I went to here, 2 hours later I was up in there, and then you'll see a 7 there, and that means that's by the time I've already got to the campsite and was at the campsite for 7 hours. It pings all through there, and it gives, again, your location, your date and time. And then what I do is when I'm about to leave shore, there's a button right here that you press, and it's just the OK button, and it sends this message: I'm okay, this is my location. I go out during the day with the breadcrumbs, and then whenever I get to whatever campsite I'm going to, so that my wife knows that I'm safe and I'm on shore, I just press the button again and again. It sends out a I'm okay. That kind of knows that I've ended my day. It's how we've communicated with each other about how we go through it. With it, you can also still send text messages without having any cell phone and everything like that. So you can chat with people. It gives you, it takes a little bit of time depending on where you are. If you have a lot of trees around you, the satellite image is a little slower. But again, you can say, I've had times where I've had to text and be like, I'm running late because there was weather. I wasn't able to leave yet. And it kind of gives a chance so you can communicate with the person. So the other things that you have is built into most SeaDoos now. You've got your fire extinguisher, which you have to carry, your bailing bucket, which is a towing rope, whistle, flashlight. That's all by Coast Guard. You have to have it. Some of the extra things that I like to have on it is, and you have to have flares with it. I carry an extra lighter. In case you are ever getting caught out in one of those squalls that come across Georgian Bay or any of the lakes, and you're wearing your t-shirt and your shorts and your life jacket, nice to have a quick poncho to kind of cover you up, give you a little bit of protection. What I have here is a boost system. Usually what I do is I'll make sure the battery's good before I leave for any trip. But if I'm going on a multi-day trip where I'm going to be like just fishing, so I'm not really running the engine, but I am running all the electronics, I like to carry this with me. It gives a quick boost to the battery in case you ever run into an issue of it not starting. I have not yet, but one of those ones where better to be safe than sorry. Again, I've got an air horn. This is more for when you're in backcountry camping. You get some animals. There's bears, there's other things like that. I've never had a bear come near me at the camp. I have seen them. They do not bother you. They are more afraid of you than you are of them. Probably the scariest thing that I've had at a camp was a beaver. It scared the crap out of me because he slaps his tail at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're not ready for that. It's terrifying. But otherwise, as long as you have some kind of protection. And then, of course, I've got a first aid kit. These first aid kits you can pick up Canadian Tire, you can pick up at Bass Pro, and they've got everything you need in case you do any injuries to yourself. And that just clips right into the inner bucket of the SeaDoo I have. So always good to carry your safety gear with you, especially if you're traveling by yourself, which I do quite a bit. Or even if you are in with the group and someone gets hurt, it's good to know that you can help them out in regards to this. So now we're going to just kind of wrap up with some of the best places I find to kind of explore on your SeaDoo in Ontario. Some are good for just day trips, some are good for actually going for longer trips and camping. As you can see, if we start up here, this is an image of Point Pelee, where you can actually be standing by yourself at the very southern point of Canada. You've got other ones where you're down up in Tobermory, where you have water that looks like the Caribbean. It's unbelievably beautiful. Backcountry, where you're by yourself in little inlets that you have to yourself, peace and quiet. Going over along the Trent 7 waterway, doing stuff where you go over the Big Chute. Just incredible little adventures that you can go on. So the first one we're going to talk about is Lake Nipissing and the Upper French River. So what I found with this one is there's different ways to get into it. I've gone and stayed in North Bay. If you're looking to do just a run out and a run back, that you have hotels there. It's a little bit more if you're just going to go do day trips. So you can go out to the provincial parks here that are the islands, where you get beautiful sandy beaches on them, pull up and spend the day. That's about 30 minutes or so to ride to that. You can also do down into the Upper French River from there. It takes about an hour by SeaDoo. Again, you kind of want good winds for that because it is a bit of open water. But again, you can do that in a day. I do know that the marina in North Bay has where you can actually stay 3 or 4 days parking your trailer there. So if you want to do a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you pay whatever their fee is. It was not much when I saw it. Or what I did was just park there and then took my SeaDoo towards where the hotel was and kind of parked right there and then drove everything back. So options that you have. The other one is coming out of Sturgeon Falls right here, where you take the river out and it's a quick shot across to get to. And then you can get into the actual Upper French River. You can't keep going down the river as it's dam controlled, but you can get in there. There's beautiful campsites that you can see in there. That was one of the campsites. So again, when you come in, there's this little inlet that's almost perfectly cut out to put your SeaDoo there. You're not going to have to worry about wind. You're not going to have to worry about wake or anything. So it really helps in regards to it. And people are always like, oh, well, you're right next to the rock and everything. That's fine. I mean, you're not going to do damage. When it's flat calm and there's no wake around, rock means nothing to you. It's actually quite good to get on and off it. And again, it has the beauty of finding beautiful places like that. The one I like to say is a great starter one if you're looking to camp or explore. Perry Sound is an amazing one because it gives you that, you're close to everything. Again, there's hotels that you can stay in, launch, and just do day trips. You have the ability to go down to a provincial park which has more established campsites, or you can go a little further north out into some crown land and actually do some backcountry camping like that. And again, like I said, you can see that there is no safe place to tie up, so you have to be willing and understand that you are going to get scratches on your SeaDoo. We live in Ontario. If you don't have a scratch, have you really been out and done anything, right? Like, that's the whole thing. And like I said, they have different options. Like you can tie up into some shrubbery, you can tie up into rock. It's all about knowing the back bays and the wind directions and kind of like what kind of wake experience you expect to see from other boats. One that I've spent a lot of time in the last 2 years and have barely scratched the surface on just because it's so big is the Lower French River, which is an absolutely beautiful place. This one takes a little bit more skill and a little bit more knowledge in regards to where you're going. It does get a bit confusing when you're dealing with all the back inlets, and some ways you can get in some directions, other ways you'll back out and you actually don't have room to turn around in because you can see the chutes get, you can see the chutes get pretty narrow there, so you kind of have to commit to it. So one of those ones where, even though it looks narrow, that chute right there is about 15 feet deep underneath at the lowest water. I've had it up to showing us about 20 feet at one point. So it's more just kind of trusting the way you're going through and following your maps. And again, you get beautiful scenery like out here, where to me it looked like Peggy's Cove right here in Ontario, right? How we go? 2 minutes, okay. Next one is Thousand Islands. This one's out on the St. Lawrence Waterway. This one has camping that you can do. It's through the Thousand Islands National Park, which is the Canadian National Park, not the provincial. That one I've tried to do camping at, but let's say all the cruisers really like to go in there, and it becomes quite hard getting in there when they're all taking up dock space and everything. So this one I like to use as more of a day trip, get a hotel, and usually what I'll do is I'll launch out of Kingston and kind of go explore. But this one has so much history and the ability to see so many different things in such a small area. Tons of islands to explore. They call them castles. I was out with my buddy Nigel, who's from England, and he did not believe that these were castles, more just fancy houses. So, but the one of the two, so this is Bolt Castle right here, and this is Singer Castle right here. If you ever get out there, I highly recommend Singer Castle, as that is a much more enjoyable experience. This was a very big letdown in regards to what's actually inside of it. So nice to look at from the water. Don't spend your money to go inside of it. And then, like I said, you can see that there's like ruins. Whoops, oh no, I went too far. Oh gosh, where did I go? I've gone way too far. There's ruins that you can see, and just a lot of different things that you can see in the area. And finally, the last one, which I've only kind of gotten to see at the end of last year, is Killarney, and it has become a huge bucket list for me to go back and explore more on. With this location, again, you have the ability to, in Killarney, there are hotels and motels that have marinas attached to them, so you can launch and spend a few days there. Or if you want, you can go and it has, you can explore the Benjamin Islands, which are absolutely beautiful. You can kind of go back in here, and this is all Killarney Provincial Park, which you can camp at. There's Crown Land there as well. So in this case, you can see you got the cliffs of Killarney. What I did is I actually ended up camping at one of the Crown Land sites that I just found, and this is, you just pull up and there, you set up your tent, you can be really good to go. You don't have to really worry about what the ground level is when you're using the hammock tents like that. And you get beautiful sunsets and sceneries there as well. So it's absolutely fantastic place and way more to explore. This is the bridge that connects the mainland to Manitoulin Island. It opens up to, we were all able to sit there and see that kind of happen. Quite a sight to see. So that's pretty much it for me because I've got a couple minutes before they switch over. So if you have any questions or things you want to know about, come see me over here. We'll chat. And otherwise than that, thank you so much for coming out and checking the presentation out. I really do appreciate it. So have a great afternoon.